Hi everyone, Lacey Everett here with Minds in Motion. In order to help others, subscribe to the YouTube channel and so I can make more of these videos for you. And if this video benefits you, go ahead and send it to other people who want to improve their mental health as well. I mean, who doesn't right now? Today's guest is Darryl Vidal, who is best known for his role in the movie Karate Kid, where we see the famous crane kick. And he's also a Grand Master, which is a 10th degree black belt. He's also known for his teaching in martial arts and was inducted in the Masters Hall of Fame of Martial Arts, which is a pretty big deal. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear what he has to say, and we're gonna learn a lot. There's self-defense tips, mindset tips, and a couple other things that I'll leave as a surprise because, you know, surprises are fun. So without further ado, here we go. Darryl Vidal. Hi, Darryl. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Lacey.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm honored. You are a Grand Master. If those of you who are watching who don't know what that is a black belt, but not only a black belt, it's a 10th degree black belt that comes with a lot of years, a lot of hard work, a lot of determination with your body and your mind. So
yeah. Just remember, I didn't ask you to call me Grandmaster.
He's paying you guys. No, I'm just that inspired by you that that's a pretty phenomenal title to have.
Yeah, and very lofty title.
Mm-hmm. And I love your background.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just in case anybody didn't know who I was.
This is awesome. So we can talk about that first because you were in the movie Karate Kid, which is the first one. Yes, the first one. The OG.
That's right. And before you were born.
Yes, before I was born. And okay, it's crazy because that movie is so famous. Even people my age are like, "Oh, Karate Kid."
It is amazing. I as the years went on, I couldn't believe that it kept getting shown on television. And,
right?
Even after 20 years, people were still watching the Karate Kid.
We're getting like the behind the scenes, everyone. This is the Karate Kid 101. But it's interesting because that movie, it has a lot of wonderful life lessons in it, great messages. And and Darryl, you guys, was the guru for this crane kick that you can actually see on this picture behind him. He was the OG for that, the inventor of that. And I was curious, what was it like for you in the movie, and how old were you, and what are there messages behind this move, and what is it about?
So the Karate Kid, just for the background of it, I'm not an actor. And so I always, when I was younger, I was coming up, through training in my karate from a very young age. But by the time I was like 20 years old, getting my black belt, I imagined that I could be like Bruce Lee because, I was in Southern California and it's the home of Hollywood, and, maybe I could get lucky and become, a karate star. But I wasn't an actor and I didn't have any acting experience. So my thought was if I excelled in karate, maybe, I could get discovered doing karate. And it's exactly what happened. I was competing in tournaments and in the tournament circuit back then, and I would win a lot. And sure enough, they were the director, who's the director of Rocky, John Avildsen, was scouting for this movie, and they saw me compete and win the Kata division, and they came to me after that and said, "How would you like to be in a movie?" I'm like, "Of course I want to be in a movie. Who are you?"
So it was kind of like you were in the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
Wow, that's awesome that it happened very naturally for you, and it wasn't anything that was forced or.
Well, it's interesting that you said that right place at the right time, because it kind of ties in to some words of wisdom I'd been given away in the past, and that is, success is the crossroads of opportunity and preparation.
Ooh.
Right? If you can prepare forever, but if the opportunity never comes up, you won't necessarily have that success. But similarly, you can have the opportunity, but if you're not prepared, then that opportunity you won't be ready for it. So success is the crossroads of it, and this is kind of, I wanted to be recognized in martial arts, and I was ready, and the opportunity came up. They were there looking for me, so it kind of all fell into place.
You were prepared, and wow, that really did happen for you. I'm curious, can we talk about what got you into karate? I'm curious.
Sure. Back then, first of all, I grew up I was born in San Diego, and I would get bullied. I was small. So I think between that and just being a fan of martial arts, I decided, I could do it. And as I started to train, I had a knack to it. I could do it. I was limber. I could kick. I was fast. And it's a sport that little people can excel in. Obviously, I couldn't be a football player, or a basketball player, or baseball possibly, but I'm still small. I ran track and I wrestled. Those were the sports I played in high school, where you don't have to be giant to do those kind of sports. So that's kind of what brought me there. And then as I worked towards getting a black belt, I just really fell in love with the art forms, and then started to train in different arts.
It is an art. It's a beautiful art, and it's very unique. And there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of technique that people realize.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think that unless you actually train in a system, you don't learn to appreciate how much there is. Some people have, if you watch Karate Kid, or if you watch some other shows on television, you don't really understand what you're doing day in and day out for X number of years. But there's a curriculum of, something called kata, which is the routine. It's like in gymnastics, a floor routine that you do by yourself. And that is something that we do to develop form and practice, fight sequences and sequences of move, but it also helps you develop balance and strength and power. And then on the other side, you also have the kumite, or the sparring, where you're sparring and fighting with other people in a competitive nature. You're not trying to hurt each other. And so those are the kind of the two main aspects of martial arts that you have to participate in order to move up.
Which are hard, to say the least. And it is so true. It's kind of like we can only tell people so much about how hard it was for you and how, what it's like, but really you don't know unless you're living it. And
yes.
You had that experience, waking up and going to martial arts or getting bullied and things like that. And side note, I have a lot of things to say about bullies. So I'm really happy that So it's just, that's why I'm making these videos, to make the world a better place.
There you go.
Yeah, to get rid of these bullies. I know that's pretty common, actually. And we see that in some movies, some martial art movies, where, they grow up in kind of a hostile environment, or there's bullies, and, you need to defend yourself. And martial arts not only is an outlet of just a healthy outlet of mindfulness and something that you can enjoy and that you like, that gets your mind off things, but it's also teaching you self-defense. And
right.
I would never want to cross you, Darryl.
But I'm a really nice guy.
That's the thing. You're the sweetest thing.
So I think one of the things that ties into what you're talking about is, in terms of bullying and confidence, because part of bullying and why people get bullied is because they have low self-esteem. They don't project confidence. And so a lot of times I'll get students who are shy or reserved, or or they need discipline, and they're not getting it. And so by being in a structured environment of martial arts, and I run a fairly stringent class. I don't, I'm not beating the kids or yelling at them, but I don't let them goof around. They're not allowed to talk. So I uphold a good tight discipline. They have to put on a good effort, and I think parents appreciate that. But then once you achieve, even as you start achieving belts and promotions and competitions, even at the very early stages, you start to build self-confidence, and the self-defense part goes with it, because not only are you learning to defend yourself, but you're also learning to project that you're not really willing to be a victim. So people can see that when you're walking down the street, or you're in a public area. Are your eyes up? Are you aware? Are you looking down at your text and shuffling along? So the way, and from what you do, that you have to project a personality and self-confidence, and people can see that, feel that, and just by that, you're probably less likely to be a victim if you can project confidence. At the same time, if you're being smart, you're not putting yourself in risky situations, right? So,
Yes.
So there's more to it than just being confident. You don't want to be confident and then go out into the middle of a bad neighborhood in the middle of the night and look for trouble. You're going to say, well, I'm smarter than that, so I'm not going to put myself there.
Exactly.
So there's more to it.
Yes, a lot of strategy. And I appreciate you actually giving some safety tips, because I think education on that is really important.
Yeah. Well, since we brought that up, and I do a lot of women's self-defense classes,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times I just start out by talking about what I said about projecting confidence and being aware. But one of the first things we start to do is drill and practice on not being so soft, not being so easy to knock around. Boys grow up, we're playing football, tackle, whatever, and we're pushing each other around. So they tend to be more physical. But girls don't necessarily get that. Even if they're playing sports, they're not playing contact and physical sports. So a lot of times a woman doesn't realize what she's physically capable of, and don't know that you can hit, and you can knee, and you can hit somebody with an elbow and hurt somebody, and what it takes. So when we do self-defense classes, one of the first things I tell them is, okay, I'm going to grab you, and I want you to do this move to get out of the grab, but I want you to think, you're going to grab me? No, I'm going to grab you. So not only do I teach them how to get out of it, but after that, you grab them and you defend yourself. You attack them.
And that's a mindset thing too, because it's not only figure out the move and be strong, but think in your mind, no, I'm going to grab you. You're not getting me.
It's like, you're not going to get me. I'm going to get you.
Yes, I'm using this. Well, I hope I don't have to use it. But
if you're thinking about it, and knowing that you could protect yourself, then you have that mindset. Now that I've told you that, if somebody were to grab your arm, you pull away and say, "Don't grab me. What do you think you're doing?" Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a victim."
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point that you made too. That's nice to hear that we don't realize how tough we can be.
Absolutely.
And
sometimes you need to be shown that. Mm-hmm. So when I teach the self-defense classes, we're working on grabbing and hitting and hitting bags. So I don't just teach a move, learn how to do this. I actually have bags, and I grab you, and then you have to shake me loose, and then you have to hit the bag, and you're finding that you can have power. You can hurt someone, but you actually have to do it, instead of just saying, "Oh, yeah, I can do that." No, you have to hit a bag, and hit it 20 times and realize that you may be sore tomorrow, or you may, skin your elbows or have a bruise because, you're doing this physical activity. So, but it is a big part of, gaining that understanding.
That does make sense. It's not only just, learning the techniques and the moves, but it's a huge understanding behind it, it sounds like. And
application.
And the confidence, like you talked about, is just key. And also just being aware, like you mentioned, be smart about it, be smart. Yes. Don't go into a dark alley by yourself. So
there's so many things like that. I mean, I don't know if you want to get off in this direction, but a lot of times when I'm teaching one of those classes, I'll tell ladies, don't let your gas tank go below a quarter of a tank.
Oh.
Because if you get to a quarter, go fill up. Because, next thing you know, it's dark and you're driving and you realize, you're going to run out of gas. What are you going to do? You're going to pull over to the side of the road in the middle of the night, So just by the nature of not letting that happen, you mitigate the risk of running out of gas. Everything's different with keys nowadays. You have a remote. People used to say, hold your key this way. And I always would tell them, don't hold your key like between your fingers. You just hold your key like that. So it's coming out, and then you learn to hit and jab just with the end of that key. And you can actually do quite a bit of damage. But you're also holding the key that you're going to need to get back into your house or get into your car or something. So there are some good hints about stuff like that.
These are little things that majority of people don't really think about, unless we're told and we get educated. I was curious, what does your mindset look like when you are doing your moves and you're in karate? And what is your mindset like also when you're, facing an opponent? It's a lot on your body, but it's a lot on the mind.
And I think a lot of sports and athletes will tell you that, they actually aren't thinking when they're doing things. Mm-hmm. They're reacting. But you can't just react, if you're not trained. So you have to train, and then you build up the ability to react. So when you're sparring, we might say fighting, but sparring, because you're never really fighting unless you're in the street fighting for your life. Mm-hmm. You want to get to the point where you're not trying to think, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Mike Tyson always said, as soon as you get hit in the face, your plan just goes out the window. So, you may have a plan of what you're going to do in a sparring or a competitive situation, but when you're getting to the moment, you have to be able to clear your mind and let your body do what you've trained it to do. The mindset is one of the confidence and knowledge about your ability, but also the ability to let it go and understand that your body has the training to do what you've trained it to do, and it can do it. And once you start to second guess that is where you start to make mistakes. I'll give you an example, and this is kind of weird, but we do in karate, we break things, right? We like to break things, and people get impressed. Oh, wow, you broke this and you broke that. And when you really get down to it, Bruce Lee once said, in Enter the Dragon, the movie, he says, boards don't hit back.
Oh.
And that's true. It's like, why are you breaking boards and breaking things? But there is a point to it, and the point is it's a mind over matter thing.
Oh, I love mind over matter.
Yeah, if you look at something and you believe what you can do, maybe you can do it. And so along with that is early on in my martial arts career, I had read a book, and it was this ancient book about karate guys, but it talked about how these old karate masters used to break rocks. I'm talking about rocks, a rock that you found in the point of the ground.
Okay.
And so I actually convinced myself that, these guys are karate masters. I've got my black belt or was getting close to it. I bet you I can do that. And so I learned early on, the technique and how to get your mind ready, and I learned how to break rock. So a lot of times I would do demonstrations, and I would end, we would break boards and break bricks. But then when you break a rock, people, it blows their mind, because if you look at a rock, you would look at it and say, there's no way anyone can break a rock.
That's unbelievable. That's
right. But in reality, it can be done. And you just have to know how to hit the rock. You got to hit it really hard. And know that you can do it. And because if you don't know that you can do it, you're not going to do it.
Yes.
So,
and whatever you put your mind to, you can do.
It's amazing.
With practice, and that is, Darryl, what you just said was the exact definition of mind over matter. I mean, that is impeccable.
I know that I could do it because it's just something that after I had done it, many times, it just became something that I can do. I know the method, and it got to the point where I said, I'm going to break a rock, but I'm going to try this one by not hitting it as hard as usual, because a lot of times you hit the rock so hard that I would hurt myself. I would cut myself, or actually, had to have stitches in my hand because I broke the rock and it cut me really bad. So you get injured. Your knuckles get bloody. And
I was going to ask what happens to your hands when you.
I've never broken my hand because you're hitting it in a part of your hand that you can take the shot. But it is something.
Wow! Yeah,
a nice demonstration.
Talk about Grandmaster. Okay, so. Wow, but that is just a great example of mind over matter. And I mean, to the point where you can break a rock in half. Are you kidding me? Wow. So, okay, people, we really can do what we put our minds to.
You can.
If this doesn't teach you that, I don't know what will, because that, oh my gosh.
But there's more to it than just knowing that you can do it or thinking that you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. One of your questions that you sent to me was about, what is the mindset to achieve at the long range, right?
Yes.
Over the long term, because
to progress, what keeps you going? Mm-hmm.
Getting a black belt, for instance, which may take 6 or 7 years in some styles. For us, it was 4 or 5 years. For many, it's 6 or 7 years. But even beyond that, here I am, a 10th degree black belt. Each one of those degrees is about 4 years. So, 30 years, 40 years that I've been training. But I never set out to become a 10th degree black belt or a grandmaster. Oh. I always said, I want to learn karate. Then I got my black belt, and then I said, I want to teach karate. So I just trained and teach and train and teach. And because of the hierarchy of our system, my grandmaster has to, elevate his senior students. And so over time, next thing you know, I'm a 5th degree, and then I'm a 6th degree. And now, in 2013, I was elevated to a 10th degree, and I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe that I've done it, because, I never imagined that was the goal. But, I think the goal is just, it's mastery, right? Mm-hmm. It's just to become good at something.
I really admire that it actually happened for you really naturally, and it kind of just evolved and nothing was forced. I think that's a really healthy way to live and a healthy way to go about accomplishment. It'll happen with time, and you didn't even think about it.
Right. And I think one of the answers about your question about mindset is you have to be patient. You have to let things run their course and stay on path, right? Because I don't know how many times we've had, in the black belt. Okay, the black belt for our system is a big test. It takes about 4 hours, and you basically do everything that you've learned over the past X number of years. You have to demonstrate it. We usually have a panel of 15 to 20 black belts that you're in front of, And we're trying to, get you so tired after 4 hours. And then at the end, you have to spar. You have to fight with a bunch of the black belts. We're talking about, probably, 6, 7 years, like I said, but at the very end, a 6 month heavy, intensive training period preparing for that test.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't just go in to say, I'm going to start taking karate and get a black belt. You basically have to start taking karate, and then you have to become a martial artist. It has to become part of your routine, and it has to be part of your regular everyday activity, and something that you focus on as part of your life, and then it guides your life, right? Because you don't do things that are going to get in the way of your being able to go to karate, and you give up other things so that you can achieve. One of the things I tell other people in discussions like this is, as a sensei, right, a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
by demanding excellence, we help others achieve excellence. So it's one thing if I say, okay, here's how to do these moves. Do it this way, do it this way. But if I make you do it the best that you can do, you will become excellent. And it's not because you decided to be excellent. It's because we've defined excellence. And I'm not going to let you stop until you achieve it. So sometimes you need the help of a guru, a sensei, a teacher who can, show you the way, but be unrelenting and uphold and make you achieve. And the true proof of that is when people don't achieve excellence and then fail. Because, and this has happened a lot of times, someone gets ready, they go up for their black belt, and they just weren't good enough that day. They didn't achieve, and they flunk. And that's a very big, loss in someone's mind. But then the proof is, what do they do next? Do they come back and test again? And when they do, they achieve at the highest level. When they don't, they probably weren't going to achieve anyway.
I love that because it teaches the 15 black belts that are watching you and yourself that if you come back after you failed or, you messed up, if they did that, I would think, wow, this person really wants it. And this person has a passion for it and they will do good. I'm curious how karate and being a black belt and all the messages that you learn from that translate to life or to just life struggles.
Well, I think everything that I've said translates to that.
I just realized that when I asked that, I'm like, wait, everything he just said, we can easily translate that.
Yeah, I mean, being patient, being confident. But I think the greatest examples of that are a lot of my students, because some of my students who started with me at a very young age, and these guys are older than you, so they just achieved at the highest level. They're getting closer to black belt. They're getting straight A's in school. They play musical instruments.
Wow.
Some of my students are doctors and lawyers, and they just achieved at the highest level. And you can't say, well, the karate is why he achieved, but it definitely part of their personality. And became part of their confidence in order to set goals and then do what it takes to achieve those goals.
Absolutely, because I can see how confidence and just being healthy in general, working out in general is healthy and
yes.
Has a lot of positive effects and
Yeah.
and learning all the different techniques and a community that it sets for you and self-defense. I can see how a lot goes, and all the Bruce Lee quotes that you mentioned and your quotes that you have yourself, all those things just come into play with life. And
a lot of that is just from also the challenges of being a teacher, a sensei, because we deal with our own set of challenges. One of the things is we talked about somebody failing a black belt test. Well, I would tell you that if someone fails a black belt test, it's our fault.
Oh, yes, I see.
They shouldn't have been tested. Okay, but there is more to that because sometimes you have a person, uh, maybe they're not as coordinated or as athletic or whatever, but let's say they put in the years, they put in the effort, they've been there, they've sweated and bled with everybody else, but they just don't have what you've defined as, excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Do we hold that person back? Do we tell them that they can't test? Well, can't do that. So a lot of times when it does happen, it's because someone has put in the time and you've helped them along, but they're still not doing it and they're still not there, but you can't tell them they can't test, because they feel deserving of it. They may not know why. So sometimes you got to say, okay, this person has been there and they've done that. I'm not. You have to make that decision as the sensei to say, okay, we know they might fail, but we're going to let it. And it's a difficult discussion to have with somebody and say, look, I don't think you're ready, but I'm going to let you test. You have to really, show us that you want it. And ultimately, every time I've had somebody fail and they've retested, they've blown us away.
That is a great lesson for what you just said. That's a perfect example of that, They're hard workers. Work ethic. It comes into play huge here.
You have to balance, your standards with, the person, with the personality and their inherent abilities.
Yeah. And you talked about balance with the crane kick.
Yeah, that's when you asked about the crane kick. But Mr. Miyagi says in The Karate Kid, remember balance.
Oh,
because it was one of his lessons for Ralph or for Daniel. Walk in the middle of the road here. Walk in the middle of on the side of the road, you're safe. But if you walk in the middle of the road, you get squished. And it was a lesson about you're either going to do it or you're not. You have to have balance in your life. You have to be able to have a family life and be able to study your martial arts and make the living or whatever you have to do to keep up with your family responsibilities.
Keeping that. Yeah.
You can't just be all one thing.
One thing does not define us.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Darryl, this was seriously amazing, and you have great interviewing skills, and I'm really...
Oh, well, it's also the interviewer. And good preparation, right? We were prepared.
Right, we were prepared.
Right.
Already putting in those skills. Thank you so much, Darryl. This was really, really, really beneficial, and I can't wait to post this.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to be part of it.